Hi guys, welcome to, or hi guys, because it's starting a little bit late. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Um, this is going to be a quick, very quick live stream. Uh, Really, I just want to give my thought as to what I want to do with this channel. Um, I would love for it to be cooler, but obviously I kind of started this on a whim. So, I wasn't truly prepared for that. Um, so we shall see. I'm learning all this. This is a lot more intricate than Facebook Live or Twitter or anything like that. Um, but there was one question from Twitter that I asked or got asked is to talk about my experience when I was 4 years old. I will do this one last time. Um, it's not a big deal. It's just I kind of have moved past it a little bit. So uh, I was on my grandmother's at my grandmother's house. It was summertime, and again, growing up in the '80s, I don't know if many of you did grow up in the '80s during that time frame, but I miss that. Like I just love that time frame. It was a lot of fun for me. So, anyways, I would spend weeks upon weeks visiting my grandmother on her farm, getting into trouble, doing stuff, playing in the dirt, playing on the farm. They didn't have any animals, so I didn't mess with any animals, but I did go into the field and stuff like that. But in any case, my experience. Uh, all I can say is I was awoken. I would sleep in her bedroom because she didn't have a bedroom just solely for me. Um, so I would just sleep in her bed. It was four or five, but I want to say it was closer to 4 years old. Um, it was between the 84 and 85 time frame. I haven't been able to pinpoint it exactly, but um, that's the time frame that it happened in. So, anyways, I'm sleeping, and in her house, or at least in her room, there was a door, and it was opened up, and from that door you could look straight through and see a big bay window to the outside, which would allow you to see a tree on the left hand side. On the right hand side would be the carport, and further out would be some grass, and then further out from that would be um, a field. So, what I saw when I had been awoken from my sleeping was, and I know this sounds really wild, but it's what I saw, was a now it's Elon Musk rocket landing in reverse onto the grass, not so much on the field. It may have been the field, but it seemed closer uh, to the house, but not super close. So that would be maybe 15, 16 yards at most, maybe a little bit more. I'm not good with just judging distances. Um, but not super close, but not super far away. So this Apollo rocket looking thing lands, and it's bright as can be. It's super bright. You could barely see what it is. Um, and I didn't know what to think. I didn't try to get my grandmother up. I didn't panic. I didn't freak out. I kind of just was nonchalant about it. The next thing I remember is in front of that same doorway that you could look out to the living room and see the big bay window, was in front of the doorway three gray, I guess you could call them grays. I don't know that that's what they were. I don't know. But there was three of them. They were short. They were short, cute, cuddly types. They're not scary like the Communion gray aliens that Whitley Strieber had always talked about. So there's those three guys there. They kind of come for me. And the next thing I remember, I'm outside. I'm outside of where that bay window would be, where I had said the tree was going to be on the left hand side and the carport was on the right hand side. Right in the middle, there was a clothesline for my grandma to do laundry, to lay it out or hang them up when it wasn't raining. Right around that area is where I remember being outside, but I don't remember being like I was walking. I don't remember that at all. It feels to me I was floating, not super high off the ground, not Peter Pan. I'm flying above everybody, not like that. It was maybe 2-3 feet max being floated. So I'm being floated from that area where this clothesline would be, roughly a little bit past that tree on the left hand side, around to where now there's a pine tree in the front of the house. I'm being floated that whole time all the way to the other side of the house, which would be on the right hand side of the house, facing the field on the other side. And at that time, they were growing corn. The next part gets fuzzy for me, only because I do remember a tall gray, very ominous looking tall gray, not a a scarier looking tall gray, but not so scary that it was frightening. Again, I didn't do anything. Like, I wasn't freaked out. I didn't cry out. And this gray comes out of the cornfield on the right hand side. And at the same time, as he's coming through the cornfield, I could hear owls hooting in the background. And we know from Mike Clellan's research that owls and UFO abduction kind of correlates. And that's all I remember of that part of the event. The next portion I remember is waking up back in my grandmother's bed right next to her, but looking out at the door to seeing the bay window and seeing that same SpaceX like rocket, Apollo rocket. Instead of landing like this, it took off. And again, as bright as can be. And I didn't know what to think of it. It wasn't scared, didn't do anything. It was kind of like, to me, nonchalant, not a big deal. So it takes off and it's gone. And I fall back asleep, wake up in the morning, and I asked my grandmother, I remember I asked her one time, said, "Hey, Mimi, do you remember seeing that rocket?" And she said, "Chris, you were probably dreaming." Now, it took me 30 years, 30 years before I started to really, I shouldn't say remember, because I've always remembered this occurrence that happened to me. And if you're a skeptic, that's fine. You don't believe me, I don't really care. I've made no money off of this. I'm not looking to make any money off of this. I don't really care. It's my story. But for me, I had it confirmed to me through what I call my confirmation, is through Joshua Cutchin's work, with him doing work on the paranormal and smell. And that whole time I was outside near that cornfield on the right hand side of the house, I could smell the earth. And you can't smell in your dreams. Now, some people, this has been disputed to me. Some people say, yeah, you can smell. And there's the group that says, no, you can't smell. I'm going off with Joshua Cutchin. I respect him. He's a friend, or at least I view him as a friend. I've talked to him a few times about this. I value his research, and that's why I'm going with that. Again, I've had other people say, Chris, look at this article. You can't smell in your dreams. But that article that I saw was one article. It does not mean to me there's a preponderant. I can't talk. There's a lot of evidence to support that preponderance. I can't talk. I can never talk. Um, so I could smell that earth smell that, and I wouldn't say sulfur, but he had said that earth has like a sulfur like smell to it, and I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, but whatever. That I could smell it the whole entire time I was out, especially on the right hand side of the house. Now, flash forward to just last year, April of 2018. I brought my brother in law, my daughter, and my cousin all to the same house because my uncle still lives there. And this is where it gets freaky. So I've never said this story to any of my family. I only told my wife in 2016. And we'd been married at that point already for 5 years. And I didn't tell her until we were married 5 years. So, to me, if you're going to look at somebody, somebody's texting me. Where was I with my thought? It's all right, Barb. I lost my train of thought. So, anyways, so I bring my daughter, my brother-in-law, and my cousin to this house where I essentially grew up in the summertime. And I told my uncle and his wife this story. I never, ever shared it with them. I just didn't feel like it. And also, there's a ridicule factor. There's the factor of, he's mentally unstable. So I didn't want that. But I did. I finally opened up and told them the story. And my aunt goes and says, that's interesting because on that same side of the house, that same bedroom where they now sleep, there's a window that faces that field or what would be that field. And she stated on numerous occasions, did the blinds flick up and down randomly? There's no wind. The windows weren't opened. There was not a gust of wind throughout the house because nothing was open. The blinds would go up and go down and go up and go down. So I found that to be very interesting. Then she had said that they had heard things in the house too. I know that they did some background and into looking that they did indeed find out that there was a caretaker of this house that was built a very long time ago. I don't know. And he died apparently on the property. Again, this is what my aunt is telling me. So there's that part that to me now is my second confirmation that what took place when I was 4 or 5 years old really did take place. And have I had experiences since? Yes. Not as dramatic as that, with the exception of the one in 2016, but we'll get to that. So I've had 2 other UFO experiences, not at close range like that. The other 2 were in this order. In 1992 or 91, I want to say 92. My family, we went along with my dad's side of the family down to Sanibel Island for spring vacation, spring break here in the U.S. for kids in school. And we went down there, and we would stay with my grandmother on my dad's side of the family. By the way, my grandmother that I stayed with her at her farmhouse, that's on my mom's side of the family. So, anyways, we go down to Sanibel. We went there like a couple of years after that, after 91 or 92. Again, I want to say it was 92. But in any case, it was right after the whole Gulf Breeze flap. So my dad and I were outside on the beach, and we'd seen from a distance, I mean, miles out, but not, again, now this is going to get weird a little bit. Some people would say what we saw was boat mast, waving back and forth in the water, and that's what the orange balls were. That's not what we saw, because the balls were much higher up in the horizon, not low. And they were doing all kinds of things. Like I remember one zigzagged like this, so I kind of made a pattern like that. And they would just do all this for a few minutes. And my dad and I went and grabbed my mom, her friends that had come down from work, and we grabbed some more family members. And there was, I think, around maybe 8 to 10 people there watching these orange orbs do these weird things. And we just sat there. And there was a medical doctor who told my dad and I, he thought that was a boat mast. That's why I mentioned that. He thought that was a boat mast doing that. And we both said, nah, I don't know about that. Like, that's too high up in the horizon for a boat. I mean, it'd have to be a huge mast, like really tall mast. And I don't think that there was many sailing vessels in the Gulf of Mexico at that time. And again, this is at the tail end of the Gulf Breeze stuff. Flash forward to 2016, I get my MUFON journal. No, I'm not a member anymore, but I got my MUFON journal because I subscribed to their journal. And lo and behold, in that same area near Sanibel Island, somebody took a picture of orange orbs. And actually, on another podcast, I mentioned this very incident that happened to my family and I. All these years later, I don't know what the hell that was. I can just tell you what I saw. My third time seeing a UFO was a little bit closer, not danger close. It was just a little bit closer. So I was in middle school. It was 93. I'm walking to my bus stop, and I get the sense that somebody or something's watching me. So I turn around. I'm halfway to my bus stop, which is not really far from my house. It was down the street, maybe 110 yards away, maybe. Not maybe 110 yards. No, maybe 110. No, I don't know. It wasn't that far. Probably yards. I don't know. I'm not very good with math. Not a math guy. No, they didn't download anything math wise. Joking. So I get this feeling that somebody's watching me or something's watching me. I turn around. Sure enough, above what would be my house's pine tree, we had a giant pine tree in the front of the house, and this thing was 80, 90 feet tall. This is a giant pine tree. Above that, maybe another 40 or 50 feet above that, was a Bob Lazar sport model, clear as day. The sun's glistening. By the way, this is a daylight event. The Sanibel Island event was at night, so you couldn't see what it was. It was, at night. This was a daytime sighting or early morning, but it was daytime out. So it had to have been in sometime in spring, maybe even May, because I remember the sun was bright at that time and the sun was glistening off of it. And as soon as I said, "Oh my God," it just blinked out. It was gone. Not to see. It didn't jump anywhere. It just blinked out and it was gone. So I don't know what that was all about. But that was my last UFO sighting with my own eyes. My next incident took place in 2016. And this one was a little bit more weird, a little bit more woo. Um, yeah. So I was getting ready for a MUFON conference, the state conference here in Michigan, the big one that was going to have Grant Cameron, Pierre Robbins, Mark O'Connell, John Tenney. I don't remember. There was a lot of other people there. And I'm getting ready in the morning. I already dropped off my daughter to her grandparents' house. And I'm getting ready and I go out the front door and right then and there I stop because I'm stopped. In my head comes a voice that's not of my own. I'm not going crazy because I've asked around it about this and other people, other experiencers have told me they've had this before. This voice says, clear as day and simply, if you go to this conference, we will no longer interact with you. And I was like, whatever. I'm going. I already paid my money. I'm going. You haven't messed with me for over 30 years. Why are you going to start now? Just because I'm into the topic? Screw you, whatever non human intelligence you are. I don't give a shit. Oh, I swore. Can't swear. Um, yeah, YouTube's bad. I'm trying to appeal to an audience. Um, so yeah, I went to my conference, and again, I didn't really relate that story until later in 2016. Did I say something to then Mike Cleland? I talked to him about it via the phone, and then I also talked to Grant Cameron 2018 in the fall. This fall of 2018, this past year. I told him on his show on KGRA about this, this event, and he was like, "Why didn't you come tell me?" I'm like, "Because that would have been really weird." Hey, Grant, I just had this experience. I don't know you, but here it is. I mean, I know a lot of people do that. Contactees, experiencers will do that at conferences. Go up to their favorite UFO researcher and say, "Hey, I had this thing." But to me, I'm not. I guess I'm not okay with that because I don't want what comes with this phenomenon. I guess the ridicule, the hate, and that's what this phenomenon does: is it conquers and divides people all the time. You could see it on Twitter, you could see it on Facebook. One minute you're getting along with all your research friends, and the next minute you're all hating each other. That's the way the phenomenon works. And some people would just say, no, that's just the UFO community doing that to themselves. I would disagree. In some instances, yes, I do believe it is just the individuals fighting amongst themselves. But I also believe that that's the phenomenon there to butt up against this wall, this invisible wall that you can't see, and for you not to make any more progress. I don't know why that is. So I don't, hold on. I don't even know if there's live chat. I don't see, there's no chat here. Oh, here we go. Turn on. Oh my gosh. Jeez, oh Pete. Sorry, folks. I'm all new to this YouTube thing. Um, oh, yeah. Hey, man, Jack, thank you for all those comments. I'll keep that one to myself. It's I've kind of got that with that researcher. I'm not going to name his name now, but yeah, that's interesting that you say that because he kind of scoffed at me actually when I told him another story. It's not UFO related, it's more paranormal, but I would say this place is like Skinwalker Ranch. And I'll tell you this story and then I got to get going. But I'm just reading the comments. There's some really interesting stuff here. Yeah, so this other experience I had at this state park here in Michigan, in the thumb of Michigan. Um, it's a Native American site, sacred site, very sacred site. So much so that the state doesn't even know what they have. The state is very blasé about any Native American stuff. They say they care, but they really don't. Case in point, when you go to this state park here in Michigan, they built this giant fenced-in area around the petroglyphs because it's called Sanilac County. No, not Sanilac County. Sanilac Petroglyph State Park, and there were some people who destroyed some of the petroglyphs. So the state put this fence in after the fact, which, if you're trying to preserve things, when you think you'd want to build a Faraday cage around the petroglyphs to preserve them for future generations. But again, that's showing that the state does not care. They say they do, but they really don't. But in any case, this place is very sacred to Native Americans here in Michigan. Actually, my cousin, the one I brought to the farmhouse, has done a lot of digging about the Sanilac Petroglyph State Park and has found some really interesting stuff that I will not share here, only because I don't want other people who see this going there and destroying a sacred site. Go there and visit it, pay your respects, but don't be a butthole about it. Don't. So this happened in 2009, November of 2009. And again, I'm going to make some correlations here. Again, this is not anything new. It may be new to you, the viewer, but in my research, I've seen and found that the paranormal shows up when you're under great stress. And that's with UFOs, Bigfoot, ghost, poltergeist, skinwalker type of things happening. So it was 2009, November. My mom had been diagnosed a year prior with a brain tumor. And she told me, because I was I guess I was taking care of her to some extent, but really just watching her and being there for her. She told me and my girlfriend, who is now my wife, to go take a day off, go have fun. And I said, fine, I'm going to go have fun. So I went and picked up my cousin, the same cousin that went with us to this farmhouse last year. He was a bit younger, so this is 2009. So I don't know. He was still in high school. It doesn't matter. So, anyways, we pick him up. We drive to the park, and we get there. And in Michigan in November, typically, it's fall. So that means it's cooler temperatures. Later in November, it could snow and colder temperatures, but this was early November. But it still would be cool. That day that we went, it was 71, 72 degrees out. And it was abnormally warm for that time of year. So I was wearing shorts. I know my girlfriend, now wife, was wearing a hoodie and jeans. My cousin was wearing like shorts and a t-shirt, and I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt because it was warm that day. And we get to the park. We see the petroglyphs that are protected, but we can't go in because, like I said, they have it caged off now. And we're just in the park, minding our own business. And basically in this park, it's a U. So from the beginning of the park to the end, it's a U. There's not a whole lot of anything to do other than you could see the petroglyphs, and then there's this U path is what I'm trying to say. And that's all you can do. It goes over a creek. Parts of the creek are larger in some areas. In some areas, the creek is not very large. So again, we made our way towards the U, on the U, this walkway, this path, and my girlfriend, now wife at the time, or wife now, girlfriend at the time, noticed it first. She's like, Chris, the water in the creek, which was deep, but not super deep. I would say maybe a foot and a half deep, maybe a little bit more. She said it's boiling. It was like boiling and rippling. Hey, Dave. Um, if Dave, can you see some of those comments, man? Because it's some crazy stuff about that one researcher. I'm not going to name his name, but it is interesting that he's not to be trusted. It is very interesting because I told him the story. So, anyways, my girlfriend at the time notices the water rippling and like bubbling first, and then we all noticed the next thing that happened. And this next thing was freaky. The temperature went from 71, 72 degrees to it now literally being in the 30s to where you could see your breath being that cold. And that is really hard to do. Lose 40 degrees just like that in like a matter of seconds. You can't exactly just do that. But it did. And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to think. My cousin started to freak out that not like freak out like, oh my God, we're going to die. But he's like, what's happening? This is wild. My girlfriend was like, whoa, we need to do something. So I was like, my dad had always taught me with Native Americans, when you go to a site, and I didn't know it was like this until a couple of years ago. Again, my cousin doing some research on this area. That's a very sacred site. Hey, man, what's up, Tim? I didn't know it was a sacred site. I just knew there was a petroglyph, and that's why people would come and come to this park. And yeah, again, my brother-in-law Dave there, he's saying the petroglyph trails were closed. The last couple of times I've been there, they've been closed too. So that's kind of weird. The first time I went, they weren't closed. And this is that time. So the temperatures come down. The creek is going crazy. It's boiling, rippling. It's like wind going on, but there's no wind. And it's freezing. And again, my dad had always told me when you're dealing with Native American sacred sites, because he's taken me to a few of them in Canada, here in the U.S., you have to give an offering and it will calm it down. So my girlfriend, now my wife, girlfriend at the, I can't talk. My girlfriend at the time, wife now, I said, give me your cigarette. I broke it open, and not that she's ever going to come and be on YouTube. She might, but she will verify this because I've asked my cousin Josh too, who was there, a witness to this. He verifies it too. I took her cigarette, broke it open, and placed the tobacco on a rock instead of a Native American prayer. And everything, the water, the temperature, the water calmed down, the temperature came back up, and we got the hell out of there. And we left. We got the hell out of there as fast as I could. I had been back since, but like my brother-in-law David kind of says, every time I've gone since, the trails that has been closed because there's a part of this wooden bridge where you can walk on it, and it's closed every single time for the creek. So either the creek has risen, which is a possibility, or maybe more people have had weird experiences there. Now, if you people can read, again, I don't want to say his name, even though his name is on the comments. If you could read those comments, there's a researcher there who I told this story to, and it's not Mike Clelland. So that should be easy for you to go in the comments and the chat on the right-hand side of your screen to see who I'm talking about, because I don't want to put him on blast, but he's kind of egotistical a little bit. when I've met him. I've met him a couple times, twice now, in person here in Michigan. I shared with him this story. I even had my wife say, what my husband's telling me is the truth. I was there too. I wish I could have my cousin come there too and say, hey, this is what happened. But he kind of scoffed at it. He didn't downplay it, but he was like, yeah, that area has been known because I guess that researcher, I will not name, has a witness or a experiencer, I guess you can call it that, who lives on property that butts up to this sacred area. This person who lives on this property that butts up to the state park told this researcher that he could see elves, not Elvis, elves, little tiny elves. And the researcher was like, I don't know about this. And so the researcher's like, fine, screw it. I want to know, what do I need to do to see these elves? Well, the guy who lives up on this property says you need to do like 10 things. I don't remember all 10. I do remember a few. I don't remember all of them. It's been since 2016 since this researcher has shared this with me. So it's been 3 years almost. I remember a few of them. One for sure was bask in the sun each day for a week for at least a minute. The other one was for a week, you cannot eat meat of any sort. No meat. The other one is you had to do something nice for an animal and a human within that week. You didn't have to do it every single day, but within that week. I can't remember. I don't remember any other ones. Those are the ones that stuck out to me. Now, I've heard from other UFO researchers that the meat one, when dealing with these others, I won't say aliens because I don't know that they are aliens, dealing with others, I have heard that people who have open contact with them tend to be either vegan or vegetarian. Just saying. I'm not vegetarian. I'm not vegan. I love me bacon. I like bacon. I like burgers and like spaghetti. So I'm not giving up beef anytime soon. But yeah, this researcher does those things. There's more. I can't think of them. He does them for the week, and he goes to the guy's place, and lo and behold, he goes, "You want to see the elves?" And he goes, "Yeah, I did everything you told me to. I brought a camera. Is that okay?" And you're like, the guy who lives up on this property said, "Yeah, that's fine." So he takes them into the woods. Now this is wintertime. Now this is the part where I cannot verify that this is true. The researcher says it's true, but I don't know because he never showed me the photographs that he said he took. He never shared the person's name who I could get in contact with. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Thank you. He never shared any of that. Was I suspicious? Yes. Did it make me apprehensive to believe this researcher? No, because I know you got to protect your sources. At least I like to. But at the same time, it would have been nice if I told you that I had an experience in that same area that was kind of sort of similar to what you're describing. Maybe you want to share the person's name, or maybe we should work together, maybe go again, and maybe we have some kind of event. But he didn't. So anyways, this researcher who is Michigan based, again, if you read in the comment section for everybody who's in there now, there's two researchers, Mike Cleland and the other one I will not name because of what that gentleman has written about him, which kind of makes sense because he is a bit egotistical. Again, I've met him in person twice now. I've interacted with him in 2016 for a long period of time, and he was not very nice. So whatever. I still want to like the guy, but whatever. So, anyways, they go in the forest, and he tells the researcher, this gentleman who lives up on the property near this sacred site here in Michigan, says, "Are you ready to see the elves?" And the researcher said, "Yeah, I'm ready." He goes, "They're here." And the researcher's like, "Where?" And all of a sudden, maybe 5 feet in front of him, it was like as if sparklers were being lit. I've also heard this phenomenon happening with Erica Lukes in Utah, and the temperature dropping in her instance, seeing a UFO. The sparklers would go off. I'm not saying real sparklers, but that's what the effect looked like. And she also had temperature drop when she was in the presence of whatever this phenomenon that came near her. It was more like a UFO in her case in Utah. In this case, it's little elves. So this researcher is like, "Oh my God, they're here." He goes to grab his camera, and before he could even get up to click, this thing runs in front of him on this log, and he captures it running by at the last second. So maybe the tail end of whatever this is. And he sees footprints, and the guy who owns the property that butts up to this state park says, "See, I told you." And the researcher's like, "Oh my God." So he took some more pictures of the footprints. But again, I've never saw the picture of the little elf. I've never saw the picture of the footprints. He's alluded to it a few times on Twitter and on Facebook, but he's never shown proof. Now, I don't know if that's because he doesn't feel that it is proof or whatever. And now this is where I don't know what to do with this part of the story that this researcher shared with me. So he goes back home after this whole experience on this property, and he hears like footprints on his roof, or hears feet clambering on his roof, and he sees the same footprints that he saw in the forest in the thumb of Michigan. He sees on the top of his house. I guess he lives near Royal Oak here in Michigan. So I don't know what to do with that. Do I believe him? Maybe. I know there's part of me that feels that this researcher kind of is like a harken back to like I can't think of his name now. Damn it. He was a West Virginian. He did the Mothman stuff, not John Keel or anything like that. I can't think of it. I'll get back to you guys. I've had a brain fart. But there's a UFO researcher, like Gray Barker, maybe, where, yeah, he may have had an experience, but then he sprinkled in a bunch of bull crap in with the real experience. I don't know. And that's not the only researcher. There's another one, James Mosley. I think that's a UFO, was a UFO researcher. And he too admitted that he'd sprinkled in some fake stuff along with some real stuff when he was covering a case in West Virginia, especially during the time of Mothman. So if nobody has any questions, I'm going to end it here soon because it's already 1 o'clock. It's been going for 44 minutes, which is good. I get up to 4 people watching, which is awesome. I wish it would show. It doesn't. See, again, I'm new to YouTube. I wish I could exactly see who is here, so whatever, but YouTube doesn't allow you to see that, apparently. So thank you for everybody who has been a part of this. Thank you for the people who asked a question on Twitter. I know this was late. And then, real quick, so I go do this live stream, And with Facebook, all you have to do is go on Facebook, say you want to live stream, and there it is. With YouTube, I had to give them my phone number and for them to verify me and verify my account before they would allow me to live stream. So I kind of freaked out, thought that this wasn't going to happen. So, but it did. So again, everybody who joined me today, thank you. I hope to do these on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But I don't know that's going to be a set schedule. Probably more like Wednesdays and Fridays for live streams. Videos, I'm still learning. I really am. I have this website that I can go to and make some cheap stuff that's free because I don't want to make a video. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still dabbling with this. And no, I'm not trying to get rich off of this. But if I do get more subscribers, great. If I don't, that's fine too. I just want to share my knowledge with you guys and gals. When do you go? When Dave asked, when do you plan on going back to the petroglyphs? I don't know, Dave. My plan, my ultimate plan with the Petroglyph State Park here was to assemble a team of different types of people and go and see if we could get the phenomenon to present itself. Now, with that being said, there's some danger in that because I don't know what we're dealing with exactly. So this was my thought. I was going to have a super religious person, a super not religious person, one, even if they are Wiccan or not so much a Satanist, but somebody that was not, religious. A scientific person, a UFO person, a cryptid person, because one part that I kind of forgot to the whole Petroglyph State Park story event was, and I don't know what to do with this. I just don't. My cousin and I'm going to make full disclaimer here. We're into Sasquatch too, right? But in that part of Michigan, there hasn't been a Sasquatch sighting since like the late 70s. So when we were there, we heard some vocalizations, but again, I don't know if that was just drunk guys near, because there was, I don't know if there still is, a gun range near that area. So I don't know if it was them, but there were some vocalizations happening. But that was my gray box. I didn't know what to do with it, so I don't really mention it. But yeah, I would like to assemble a team to go there to that state park and see what we could do. See if we get some interaction happening. And another thing, I would love to have because I'm not good with filming, but maybe we get like a film crew or somebody with a good camera to go there. I have some UFO buddies that would love. They live in Florida, unfortunately, but I would love for them to bring their cameras, their forward-looking infrared cameras, especially, to that forest, into that site, and see what we could get. Maybe we could get something. Maybe it's like Skinwalker Ranch. Maybe it only manifested because I had some stress in my life. Again, going back to my mom with her cancer, her brain tumor. So I don't know. I would love to. It's on my bucket list right now. Also, I don't want anything coming home with me and messing with my family here at my house. So you got to kind of be cognizant of that and realize that when you're dealing with this stuff, it can reach out and touch you. It could definitely reach out and touch you. That's why I always say to people, don't wish to be abducted. You don't want to see a UFO. It changes your life. It's not necessarily the best thing in the world. I've talked to plenty of UFO experiencers or people who've seen UFOs. It has turned the world upside down. So with that being said, thank you. Please like and subscribe to my channel, or like this video, like the other videos. I know they're not the greatest quality, but I'm trying. I was loaded into doing this. Thank you. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.